From your hood to my hood.
Yo, what it does, this the boss Ricky Rouse.
St. Vincent.
It's your boy Young Jesus.
And the Grenadines.
Yeah, y'all, this Jay-Z.
Newest sound.
Woman!
106.9 FM.
Oh Lord, people on WhatsApp saying it's sabotage because Mr. Cummings' mic went low and this and that. It's no sabotage. I definitely want to hear Mr. Cummings because I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want him. I don't want him to cuss me. You know what I mean?
Daniel, you have chosen to be involved in politics. Everybody knows you as the want a man. Can we step back from that and tell us a little bit about you? Where were you born? Your family, kids, how old are they?
Well, thank you very much, Stephen. I was born and grew up in Kingston Park. And I spent 6 critical years of my life with my maternal grandmother in Redemption Shops, very close to where I live for the last 20-something years now. 6 years between the ages of 4 and 10. I came from a very large family, 11 regularly and 2 or 3 outside.
So practicing Roman Catholic family, apparently.
Yes, I am. But my religious life is very interesting. I was christened Catholic. I spent my years with my grandmother in the Baptist faith. I had a number of years in the Gospel Hall religion.
I went there as a kid.
And all of us, and those years were very interesting. I tell you, I learned to quote so many parts of the Bible for Sunday school. I won many a prize in that, I might say.
We know you have a good memory, Daniel. We know that. I can bear proof to that.
But interestingly, all of my family moved away from the Catholic Church until one of my sisters went to teach at the St. Mary's School, and all of us came back to Catholicism. Ironically, I am the only member of my family, apart from my sister who lives in England, who have remained with the Catholic faith. Everybody else has gone to different religions. Yes, I was married twice, on both occasions to people who come from Trinidad. My first wife, God rest her soul, and with her I had a son who is almost 40 years old now. He's 39 and going. And I subsequently married to another Trinidadian who has a lovely daughter who is at university now. And the perilous thing is that since I got involved in politics, our family has been uprooted, and my wife has to go back to Trinidad to find work. She couldn't continue to be the president of the family court simply because I'm involved in politics that is not fascinating to the government. When up to today, everywhere I go in this country, people keep asking me about my wife. They have such fond memory of her modus operandi. It's amazing how we share the similar approach towards life. We have a job to do. We do not see politics. We don't see religion. We are objective and fair, and we are absolutely fearless once we know we have done the right thing in the interest of the people. So our lives have been torn upside down.
And your academic background and so on too?
Well, some people tell me that I am a qualified engineer. I mean, I've studied at the craft, at the technician, and at the professional level in civil engineering, specializing in water. I've done water resources training, and I've also done additional postgraduate training in water resources management and environmental science.
How did you end up as general manager of CWSA? Because you were there for quite a while on the Monty's chairmanship. How did you get that job?
Well, I had just returned from my master's training in engineering and was anxious to get more specifically into engineering matters. But at the time, the board had the end period of a consultancy offered by CDB to change the management arrangement in the CWSA, among other things. And when that contract came to an end, they called me and they said, look, we want you to be the manager. And I never forget that day. I said to the members of the board, I think you all are losing your mind, because I am not the person to manage the institution. I'm an engineer. I am gung-ho ready.
Technical man.
And they said to me, well, we don't have a choice. And I said to them, after consideration, okay, but to understand one thing, I will do it the way I know how. And that's the way I'm going to approach it. And I set about, from day one, trying to work myself out of the job, because I never wanted to be a manager. I wanted to help the institution to develop. I wanted to expand the service in terms of level and quality.
Did you do that?
People need to understand what Water Authority was in those days. Nobody cared about the place. Nobody bothered to apply.
And what kind of year are we talking about there when this started?
I came back to St. Vincent in 1982. And I was offered a job in 1987.
Okay.
Interestingly, I acted for about 3 years because the government, it came back to me, the NDP government, they wanted to know what is the color of my politics. But the funny thing is, if they had waited another 25 years, they would not know because I was not into politics. I couldn't give.
So why did you leave CWSA?
Why did I leave?
Yeah, why did you leave? You left at some
I didn't
point.
leave.
What
I was
happened?
thrown out.
You were kicked out.
I was thrown out.
What was the rationale? Or?
Because I would not agree with the political interference, among other things, in the operation. I'd worked too hard to build an institution up to a level with a lot of very competent and well-qualified people, and I wasn't prepared to be part of the process of destroying the institution. And I would not allow any political interference into the operations of the CWSA. The government has its role to set policy and so forth, but no government has any right, has any right to be operating interfering in the day-to-day operation of any state-owned entity. It cannot help the entity, it cannot help the country. That's my basic philosophy. And if you look at what has happened to CWSA, the hallmark of that has been the failure of the James Mitchell administration to interfere in the operations of the institution. And I'm very proud of that, because without that, it could not have happened. In fact, I've said before, if they had done that, I would have left a long time ago. I don't have time to waste.
Now, before I jump back to the politics, I just want to be clear here. What, in your view, were the major accomplishments of CWSA when you were there, before we jump back into the politics again?
Well, the people. When we started, we had a largely ill-disciplined staff, untrained, a lot of theft, a lot of real worthless behavior. You know, you had people working for the institution, collecting money from the public, but pocketing it. You had people for doing work. You had people collecting water rates from the public and pocketing it. The institution was hemorrhaging heavily. It could not, I mean, you couldn't write a check, it was bouncing. You know, it was a mess. So, but we set about on a process of empowering, training, motivating, and developing people. And one of the things that pleases me most about that institution is, up to today, there are people there who are at the senior level who were some of the most troublesome at the time, but they completely turn it around, not only in their behavior, in their training, in their development. And that's why I always say, you know, I believe in people. I don't believe there's any human being. You hear me, Bing? I don't believe there's any human being who doesn't have good in them.
I disagree with you. Bing has none.
Some people show it in different ways, but you have to look closely. Everyone was made by the Almighty, and everyone has some quality. Some of it is hidden for different reasons.
Bing uses it real deep.
The good managers are the people who can recognize those strengths and weaknesses and help people to lift themselves, not to tear them down, to lift people to a new level of appreciation. And that has been our major accomplishment. Quite apart from the physical of extending the water and sewage all over the country and keeping water rate constant for 15 years.
But where did that happen? Where did you all expand water to, if you like, in this country? What happened? I remember, I was a boy, I remember...
You name it.
I was young. But I'm curious, because a lot of people don't know this, Daniel, what happened and where the country was at one point in time. We've heard of tremendous 17 years of failure continuously rammed into your brains. But, and again, the NDP never seems to defend its own track record to make it clear that people should remember. We were in Fancy on the weekend, and we were coming down, Daniel, and we gave a young lady a ride, a 20-year-old young lady. She wanted to go to London. She was in her yellow shirt, all carrying on, right? We gave her a ride down. And we said to her, do you know Sir James Mitchell? She said, oh, I heard about him vaguely. I said, so you're a big member of the party and you don't know the history of your party. I don't think, does the NDP do a good enough job of telling people what your accomplishments were and what happened in those 17 years, you think? I want to agree with you. The NDP has failed over the years to promote itself and what it has done. Because they have, if you look back, I have been doing a lot of research into their tapes and so on. They have not used the same approach that this government by going and putting people, parading people before the camera for giving them some Pampers.
quite literally. You know, that is for me ridiculous. Every little thing they do using the state resources, they want to get praise for it. The NDP has not done that. The NDP has been about serving the people, delivering the goods, and they focus on that exclusively. And I believe the vast majority of the people at the time appreciated it. A lot of the young people today, unfortunately, don't know where it came from. When in the Water and Sewage Authority, for example, we had about 6,000 customers on the books. Today we have 40, perhaps 1,000. I don't know the exact figure. But more importantly, at the time of the 6,000, more than half of them were not receiving any water for most of the day. Sometimes they went for weeks without water. You know, all of that changed dramatically. We were able to expand the water supply in areas that never had water. The Lomans in my own constituency, there was a time when people used to have about 25 buckets on the one standpipe up Virgin, waiting at all hours of the night for water to come. The Water and Sewage Authority was able to get water to the highest point without pumping a drop of water by using proper engineering techniques. People look at these things as miracles, but it's just going back to basics, but understanding the needs of the people and giving them what they deserve, the best quality of service.
Mr. Cummings, you spoke just now about the qualities of a good manager. You know, someone who should lift people up and inspire them and all that. Is Mr. Eustace a good manager?
Par excellence. Let me show you what a good leader in a political arena does.
But you're not even waiting for me to finish the question, though.
Please, sorry.
Yeah.
How rude of me.
Yeah. No, that's not rude. That's not rude. We dialoguing. We talking. We're having a conversation. That's all right. I know you came here for me this morning, Mr. Cummings. But I'm prepared for you. I realize you came here prepared for me this morning. But that's all right.
I'm always prepared.
I love that. I love the challenge.
Yeah. Doggy mess you up, you know. Don't let Daniel mess you up. Remember what Doggy did?
I will never do that. I never do that.
Mr. Cummings, you said, but you just spoke about the qualities of a good manager. Are you happy? Happy is not the right word, all right? How do you feel about how your par excellent leader treated Anisha Batiste and Miss Nichols?
Oh my goodness, you're using two classic examples to show what a leader does. Our leader is so humane. You know, when Anisha Batiste wrote that letter, I had a good relationship with her. In fact, I still do. And when I read the letter, I called her. We had a long conversation. I said to her, young lady, I have had many more years than you. If I were in your position, I would take that letter back. I said, I would undertake, if you do that, to let Mr. Eustace accept that he didn't receive it. In other words, you have made an error. You should never have written like that. Totally wrong. You know, she said to me, oh, I have no right to speak to her like that. Her mind is made up. She's going ahead with the letter. And there I realized, God knows what he does. He works in his mysterious and sometimes mischievous ways. Now, any leader facing that situation has one option. What the young lady was saying, you are not the leader, I am the leader, get out of here. What do you expect to happen in that? There was no option for Mr. Eustace in that other than to remove that young lady out of the question. I mean, you know, I tell you this. If that had happened to me in my early years of management of the CWSA, I might have called the security forces to get the lady out.
So you agreed with Mr. Eustace and the way he treated her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no issue about that.
Okay.
Any leader reading a letter like that, quite apart from the fact that most of it had no basis of truth, but downright rudeness, absurdity.
Rudeness.
You cannot, absolutely.
You should not be rude to authority.
You cannot be rude.
You cannot be rude to authority.
You shouldn't be rude.
You should not be rude to authority.
You shouldn't be rude, period.
Anyone who is in a position of authority, you should not be rude to them, Mr. Cummings.
You should not be rude, period.
Period.
You should have manners.
Let me give you a classical example. The Speaker of the House. Are you rude sometimes to the Speaker of the House?
I find I am too polite to the man.
Mr. Cummings, did you not say that under an NDP government, fire and brimstone will come on the head of Mr. What's his name?
Hendricks.
Mr. Alexander.
You were
Is
using
that not
you-
being rude?
Alexander.
No, you were taking nice, colorful language.
Mr.
Wait,
Cummings,
Wait,
you are
young
being,
fella.
you are not
No,
being...
young fella. Wait, what?
Let me hear your explanation.
Wait,
Give me your explanation.
No,
Yeah,
wait.
let me hear your explanation.
What do you understand by fire and brimstone?
Oh,
Do you,
not
wait,
sex.
you saw the physical fire and the stone.
No. I did not see the physical fire in the store.
Man,
But you
listen.
just spoke about you should
Hold
not be
on.
rude at all, especially to
That is
authority.
not rude.
What
Let
were
me
you doing?
Let me explain. Well, for that reason, I believe when I said the commissioner of police is behaving like a jackass, that has been rude as well.
What do you think?
Of course not. Well, you know what a jackass
Under
is?
you being manager of
No,
Water Authority,
listen,
if
Bing.
one of your employees
Bing.
had referred to you that way, what would you have done?
Bing,
But
let me first of all.
he's not an employee.
let-
No, if one of his employees...
Yes, but
no,
you know,
Hendrik
one of the
Alexander
things
is
I
the
learned
Speaker of the
about you,
House.
Bing,
Okay,
you
go ahead,
do
go
not
ahead.
allow people
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
explain.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's your program. Now, being a jackass doesn't say that he has 4 legs. what it says is that he's behaving as though he doesn't have a brain. He's behaving like a dumb animal. A jackass is an animal that carries load, not a very smart animal. That is all I am saying. He is ignorant. That's all I'm saying. And when I'm speaking of fire and brimstone,
Yes, what
I
you
am
meant?
talking about the imposition of justice. Justice. There's a procedure. Anybody who breaks the law must be subject to the law. You cannot tell me that in the history of this country there has ever been a Speaker of the House as ignorant, as biased, as ridiculous as Hendrik Alexander. That is simple reality.
OMG.
That's all it is, Bing.
So you think that you're justified in using those, according to you, colorful languages?
Absolutely. In fact, most people would tell me I was too soft on them.
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my
Most
goodness.
people would be.
Oh my
Bing,
goodness.
most
Daniel,
people who
oh.
listen to the proceedings of the House
So,
would tell me that I was soft on the man.
So Daniel, will you then, since you have said this, what are you going to do about appointing a speaker? What process would you use to appoint someone like a Monty Moore, who obviously was a cut above almost everybody else that I am aware of as a speaker?
Well-
where are you going to find somebody like that?
Well, first of all, it
Who's
is
not totally
it is not
one-sided.
my responsibility to make those
Okay.
positions. But I know.
But you must have ideas.
But you asked me, he asked me about the leadership of my president, and Bing, you didn't allow me to tell you.
Oh, you
Go ahead.
You didn't allow me.
Thank you.
You didn't allow me to explain to you
My apologies.
why my president is such a fine leader.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
I want you
Yeah.
to look at
Yeah.
the history.
This election is about
Look
leadership.
at the history of the parliament of this country when Eustace was involved. How many occasions has Mr. Eustace been the lead person on bills brought by the government? Less than half. On every occasion when there is a member of his team who has the expertise and experience to deal with a matter, he has allowed us to lead off. I have led off on a number of bills. So have Linton Lewis. So have Major Lee Cobb. So has Patel Matthews. So has Terence Oliver. So has Dr. Friday. This is a man who recognizes the skills and competence of the members of his team and allows them to grow.
By sitting in the audience when you're having a
Look
press
at that.
conference.
We're having
Isn't that amazing,
we're
Stephen?
having
Oh,
we're
wow.
having a press conference. I know you don't see the quality in that. I can hear it in your voice. But let me explain.
That's correct. That's correct.
Let me explain what it is to you. Here is a man who everybody knows how talented he is. Everybody knows his skills and expertise. But he recognizes that in his team, he has members who can hold.
Not
their-
everyone, because he's not won the election yet.
Well,
And he's going for quite a while
it's only a
now.
matter of a few days, Bing.
Oh, really?
But you'll notice that he's improving at every outing. The whole team is improving at every outing, while the others are decreasing significantly at every outing. You have to watch.
So he wasn't
You
as
have to
good, but
watch
he's
the-
getting better now.
you
That's
watch
what you're
the-
saying.
you watch the
Are you
reality.
saying that he's getting better now?
No.
But you just said he's
Let me put
increasing.
it-
What
let
do you
me-
mean? What do you
let
mean
me-
by
let
that?
me- when it comes to the election, let me tell you what is happening.
Oh, he's getting
The
closer. There's no
people-
place for second place
Let
in the
me
election.
show you,
Okay?
man. The people are finally appreciating reality every day. And after this election, you will see how much they have appreciated the kinder and gentle approach to our society.
I don't know about that.
You will, as I said, you will see.
I don't know about that kind of.
Look, the reality is that I'm a businessman, right? The reality is there are different types of leadership that are different for different circumstances. The people will decide what kind of leader they want in 14 days' time.
Yeah, but not the kind. Mr. Yusuf is not the kind and gentle leader.
But you are.
I didn't say kind and gentle. I said
Mr. Cummings
different kind of leader.
Mr. Cummings said he's the kind and gentle leader.
You are asking me about two people, you know, Anisha Batiste.
Yeah, Miss Nichols.
Oh, yeah, the secretary.
You answer.
But you didn't allow me to
Give me the
speak about
secretary. Give me the secretary. And we're going to take in you. Give me the secretary quickly.
You know, one of the things a lot of people don't know, and my grandmother always taught me, you know, if you don't have anything good to say about a woman, you should zip it.
But I asked, so
But,
tell me.
but no, not. It's
I
not
asked.
so much that you have asked. It's so much that this lady has been brazen enough to put herself up as a bastion of virtue. And I wish to God she wouldn't do that. I really wish she wouldn't do that. I've worked with that young lady, you know. I was General Secretary to the party for a number of years. And I worked with that I encouraged that young lady. I literally begged her to get some training. The lady is totally incompetent. Her training is almost zero. She is rude. She is the most common person I've
What do you
ever
mean?
come
What do you
across.
mean when you say common? What do you mean?
Bing, you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
She has no respect for herself. She is not fit to be a secretary. I've said to her in one of my basic training programs, as I do with anybody who works with me, especially in the capacity of a secretary, one of the characteristics of being a secretary, you must know that the word begins with S-E-C-R-E-T. That's the first part of secretary. Any secretary who cannot be honest. Imagine you as the leader of the opposition having a secretary who goes without asking or telling and speaks with the Prime Minister of the country at odd hours. Trust, common sense, training.
She did that?
Repeatedly.
Okay.
Repeatedly. Repeatedly. Anybody who cannot account for monies that you ask to hold, you weren't required to hold it. You asked to hold the money and can't account for it. Cannot be a secretary.
Carefully make my station get sued. Eh?
That's all right.
Carefully make my station get sued.
You know, I said, you know, I feel sorry for this woman that she has been brazen enough to allow stupid partisan politics, because that's what's driving her. I want to tell her that nobody in the ULP thinks that she's worth anything, but they're using her in an extreme way, and I feel sorry for her.
Thank you
because
very much.
she is a mother.
Let me just put a disclaimer
and she's
here. Stephen, you wanna give the narrative for the disclaimer? The views expressed just now were those of Daniel Cummings and not of
necessarily
Boom.
those of Boom.
Not Boom. Not necessary. It is not Boom's
necessarily.
views.
No,
all right?
no.
We have to put a
Because
disclaimer to that, okay?
Boom
Hold on.
views or
But
your
believe,
views?
but believe me, my brother, everything that I say,
You can back
I
up.
can substantiate.
So you're fine.
Absolutely.
And it's not
it is
liable
not
if
my
it's not
nature
live.
to speak on things that I don't know about.
Okay.
I said to that's why I said to you first.
Yep.
I was the party's general secretary for a number of years, and I worked closely with. I begged that woman for years to calm down. I had to bring her into many a discussion and ask Mr. Eustace to give her a break on many an occasion because of her behavior. The woman is absolutely classless and tactless. She has none of the qualities required of a secretary.
On that
None.
note, we're going to take a break. We're going to get some water. When we come back, it's going to get even more fiery. And Brimstone is going to come down in the studio. All right?
water too.
And water.
And water,
Brimstone
water,
is going to
water,
come down in the
water,
studio. Don't you move a muscle, all right? We're going to take the news in compliments of the Bank of Nova Scotia. The good guys there. Oh, look at everyone. Look at everyone. We're going to come right back after the news. Stay right where you are. Don't change that dial.
From your hood to my hood.
Yo, what it does is the boss Ricky Rouse.
St. Vincent
It's your boy Young G.
and the Grenadines.
Yeah, y'all, this Jay-Z.
Newest sound. 106.9 FM.